Hey everybody. Excuse me. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree. I'm going to be uploading this video to all three of my channels. This is my tribute to Victoria Valimir, my good friend who passed away a little over a week ago. I'm going to respect her privacy and the privacy of her family. I'm not going to get into the details surrounding her death. I'm just going to talk about her life and remember her as an awesome person that she was. So, I'm transgender. And so you can expect that Victoria was also transgender. She was famous among the trans community. She actually ran an organization known as Trans Ethics. And she was very big in our community. Very well beloved, very well respected, very well known. She did a lot of work for trans people. But she also helped out people with disabilities and neurodivergent individuals and homeless people and pretty much anyone in need. So, I met Victoria about 3 years ago. I don't remember the very specific details of how we met. I'm pretty sure it was either through Twitter or one of my podcasts that I was doing at the time, because I know we talked about my podcasts. But I do know that it didn't take long for her to give me her cell phone number and for us to connect on Facebook. And we got to a point where we talked at least once a week, but usually 2 to 3 times a week. Now, she was busy. Like I said, she was famous in the trans community. She had hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, she ran an organization known as Trans Ethics. So I wasn't her only friend, obviously. But she always made time for me. Anytime I would send her a text and I would say, hey, I need a friend, boom, my phone was ringing and it was her. Now, I will say she lived a good life. All things considered, she lived her best life, but she lived a hard life, you know. She was in her 50s when she passed away. So she unfortunately lived through the time in our history in America where it was more acceptable and legal to discriminate and harass and be dicks to trans people. So she went through some shit that no one should have had to go through. She was a very good person. She loved Star Trek. She could talk about Star Trek all day long. She liked all the movies and TV shows. She was way into Star Trek. I was not that into Star Trek, but I have seen enough of it that I was able to have respectful conversations with her in regards to it. Even though I was usually coming from a point of, I'm not a fan, but this is what I do know. She was also really big into music, specifically like, I want to say like punk rock and alt rock and that kind of stuff, but also like, you know, heavy metal and hard rock and stuff like that, but mostly rock music. But she also listened to a lot of, you know, queer bands, LGBTQIA plus bands. And music of that sort. And she was always introducing me to new bands and new songs that I'd never heard of. True story, I was listening to a podcast recently where they were making a big deal about the band Dramarama. Now, Dramarama is not a band anybody has ever heard of. They were a flash in the pan back in the mid-'80s, and they've basically resolved to obscurity these days. But they did one of the songs to the soundtrack to A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master, which is why I was listening to this podcast in the first place. I listen to a lot of horror podcasts, and they were talking about that song. And so I just was curious. So I asked all my friends, and I've got a lot of friends, colleagues, etc. So I just posted it to Twitter and just tweeted everybody and sent private messages and text messages to every single person I know. Have you ever heard of Dramarama? And every single one of my friends was never heard of them. Who are they? A couple of people said no, but I've heard of this other band. or maybe you meant Dollarama or something of that effect, Bananarama. People were like, are you sure? Not one person knew who Dramarama was. And then I got to Victoria, and not only did she know who they were, she had actually seen them in concert, and she sang one of their songs to me over the phone. She was like, yeah, I know them, and she sang one of their songs. And I was like, awesome, I found a fan. And that's one thing I like about Victoria, is she was into music that, like, most people wouldn't have even known about. Now, I won't go so far as to say I would identify her favorite band as such and such, because she never told me who her favorite band was. That was not a conversation we had, because she wasn't one to, like, have favorites, necessarily. But she did tell me she really loved the band Kiss. And so we talked about Kiss a lot, because I also happen to really like the band Kiss. Not quite as much as she does, or did, unfortunately, but enough that we could talk about Kiss, and share those memories. Like me, she was also pagan and into witchcraft, which she was not secret about. She was very knowledgeable of this stuff, and one of her favorite quotes to me was, in regards to her beliefs of spirituality, was basically, all paths lead to the center. And she told me a lot of personal stories about her experiences with pagan gods that I'm not going to recant here, because those are private stories she shared with me. I'm just going to tell you she was very intense with her beliefs, and she was very devoted to her practice, as much as she was devoted to the trans community as a whole, and her friends as well, and her chosen family. I could sit here and ramble pretty much all night, just recanting memories of Victoria, but I won't, because, I want to be very careful that I'm respectful to her and those who remember her. And I just want to put this out there just so that people can, honor her memory, because she was a really amazing person, and I am so fucking heartbroken that she passed away, that it really has changed me. If you notice the past couple of videos that I put out post her passing away, I've been a little more agitated than usual, because I'm kind of pissed off about it, considering everything that happened. Obviously, there's nothing I can do. I can't bring her back. It doesn't matter how angry I get. She's gone. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to come to terms with it, and, I don't want to. I want to be able to call her and talk to her and hear her voice, and I'll never get that again. And I'm just having a real fucking hard time with it, because she was one of my best friends. She was actually like a sister to me. She called me one of her sisters. So she wasn't just a friend, she was family. And I've fortunately had the opportunity to connect with some of her other chosen family since her passing away. And, she touched a lot of lives. And I'm just very grateful that I got to know her and be a part of her life. And I'm never going to forget her. And I'm going to stop now before I start crying. I'll try to link the obituary in the video description, so if you want to go read more about her, you can.